I know this story. We covered this as an anti-union story. Why are you starting with the anti-union crap?
Well, no, this is pro-union. Like, he's pleading guilty to it. They caught him. Like, everything
It's
that
true.
everyone says about, like, unions, oh, union's bad. Like, the system is working. Like, he embezzled money from the UAW.
Yeah.
Do unions work, CJ?
Oh, do unions work? What a question.
Let's just jump right in.
Scholars remain divided. I'm going to be honest.
It's mostly the University of Chicago versus everyone else, I think. But yeah.
Do unions work? I mean, do we have weekends? Do we have a limit to the number of hours that we're supposed to work in a week?
I mean, on paper.
On paper, you're right. You're right. No, but I mean, that's absolutely a testament to the fact that unionization does work. There is power in it. There is power in collective action, right? That's the whole shtick. It's just standing together and making a demand because, it's a bug's life. The ants outnumber the, what are they? Grasshoppers?
Grasshoppers.
Yeah. The ants outnumber the grasshoppers, and because of that, they're able to overthrow them.
This is ants, not a bug's life, right?
No, this is A Bug's Life. Ants was the what's his face ripoff of A Bug's Life. It was right when he left the company. It was right when he left Disney. Yeah, Kratzenberg. Yeah, Kratzenberg. Kratzenberg was exiled from the Walt Disney Company right around the time they were working on A Bug's Life. So then he went and made his own studio and literally stole the A Bug's Life concept and made ants.
Ah. Now that's the guy who did Quibi, right?
Stop, please. I can't go down this rabbit hole right now.
We don't have to go down this rabbit hole. There's just a lot of people who are terrible, who have bad ideas, who just so happen to produce anti-union movies, I assume, and pro-union movies coming from good places.
Sure.
The point is that unions work.
I mean, it's hilarious because, like, Disney has actually made, at least I can think off the top of my head, 2 incredibly popular pro-union works, which is Newsies and A Bug's Life.
That's true.
And, yet I have friends who have worked at Disney who have explicitly told me that even they can have, 1,000 workers from the Walt Disney World Park on board with the concept of unionizing, and Disney just tells them, if you try and do this, we'll just fire you all and replace you. 1,000 workers can just be fired and replaced because that's just how big the company is.
This monopolization of capital is not going well.
It's almost as if they understand that the story is maybe something that people will relate to and pay to see on screen for entertainment. But if it affects them and their employees and their bottom line, well then, never mind. Ignore that film. Ignore everything we taught you when you were kids.
Yeah, unionization is this, like, romantic, idyllic thing where, like, coal miners, like, with smudged faces, like, marched around with pickaxes on their shoulders and, like, told those bosses that they weren't going to work until they got fair pay, and then they didn't work and they got fair pay, and that's what unionization is.
None of them were violently murdered. None of them were arrested. None of them experienced any hardship whatsoever. They just marched until they got what they wanted. That's exactly right. That's exactly how it happened, for sure.
It was a peaceful protest, yeah.
I live in Colorado, and I can confirm that no one has ever fought a protracted coalfield war against any company or a government.
I'm gonna cry.
Psychic Dolphin Garage.
Good evening, afternoon, morning to each and every one of you. Welcome back to the Psychic Dolphin Garage. I am back in the garage. It is I, Zach, he, they.
I'm Charlie, she, her, and it's very nice to have you here, Zach.
Charlie, it's amazing to be back here, using my radio voice, hearing your radio voice.
Teaching myself to talk lower and be more interesting on the radio.
Be more interesting, yes, our podcast, the most interesting podcast in the world. We don't have Bo and Dennis here because we've replaced them for this week with some very special guests, some friends of mine. We have some workers from the first Starbucks to unionize in Texas. We have CJ and Gaz. Welcome.
Careful there. We're not unionized yet. We just petitioned. It's just a petition.
We just petitioned. Wonderful. Can y'all give me names?
But I appreciate your optimism.
Can y'all give me names and pronouns so I can cut it in so we can recognize your beautiful voices?
Yeah, I'm CJ, and I use he pronouns and they pronouns.
I'm Gaz. I use he, they.
Hell yes. Oh
Cool.
my god, it's almost
we are a very he-they show.
It's a full show of he-theys. Let's go.
You should have replaced me with Bo and Dennis.
That's true. Then we would have had a full he-they podcast. The himbo squad, okay?
Oh no.
The dumbest
Gaz, how are we feeling about the implication that we're himbos? Should we are we staying?
I love it. I'll take it.
Okay.
Yeah, CJ. Shut up, CJ.
You don't speak for all of us.
I've outed myself as a himbo. God damn it.
Yes.
I misread the room.
CJ and I both somehow started going back to the gym this week. So you know what?
Yep. How did that happen?
I don't know.
We didn't even talk about it.
We didn't. We're just our cycles are synced. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm doing it because I've received a new job since the last time I was on here, and I work from home now. So I like cook for myself and like take a shower regularly and like do
That's
laundry.
Really,
it's kind of strange.
Really wonderful to hear from where you were at last.
Yeah, throwback to last time. God, I really just want to die. Just really badly.
It's been so long and you deserve this.
God. Yeah, no. I've talked to CJ a couple times about coming on and talking about, unionizing, but like, realistically, what is CJ gonna come on? What are we gonna do? Like in our DMs, we kind of, bitch about work all the time anyways, so.
And now you, the listener, can get that experience.
I'm gonna cry.
Exactly.
Oh.
And we finally have some some fun, spicy stuff to talk about.
Yeah, one of us finally decided to unionize the workplace.
All right.
The other one just works from home.
Yeah.
The other one said, "What if I just become more antisocial?"
Yeah.
Not anti-socialist. I want to be very clear.
You're gonna be an ultra now.
Oh, let's go. I'm ready. I'm logging into reddit.com under my 16 alts to go raid this one post. So I guess diving right in, CJ and Gaz, tell us the nitty gritty. Tell us how many Starbucks executives you had to fight in, to the death in the gladiatorial fight that is unionization.
Gaz, you want to give him the number? Are you ready?
The mental picture has to get swiped from my brain of what that would look like.
Since we all studied the faces of all the executives so we could recognize them on site if they walked in the building.
Well, I didn't think they were fighters, and there's been meetings recently where they've kind of tried to edge people back to their seat and out of the room if they so much as question why fair acts and stuff haven't been signed, and it's a lot of paper pushers.
Mm-hmm.
And then we work with our hands all day with hot coffee, so I feel like it wouldn't be a fair fight.
You're right. But I think you kind of tipped our hat there a little bit, Gaz, by implying that we haven't fought anyone. So I guess I get to give the number, which is at our store in particular, we have not had a single executive visit our store since we went public and filed our petition to unionize.
That's stellar.
Which is very uncharacteristic when we talk about the other 150 plus stores in the country that are trying to unionize right now.
Yeah, did Starbucks not just bring back the CEO whose thing is union breaking?
Oh boy.
Correct.
Yeah, you're right.
Correct.
I think I said about that. Oh God.
We don't know if that'll change anything, but so far, I don't know. I didn't think that we were a tiny state that maybe would go by unnoticed. We were bracing ourselves, and it's been pretty anticlimactic.
Yeah, we live in fucking Texas. Our Starbucks store is in like almost central Texas, like South Central Texas. We were fully we were preparing to deal with worse than anybody in the country had dealt with yet. And it honestly looks more like places like Kansas and Arizona are the ones that are dealing with like the worst that Starbucks has to throw out, and it's not us, which is, I mean, we're incredibly thankful. Like, we're so happy that we're not having to deal with any of that. Don't get it wrong.
That's not an invitation.
Say, it sounds like they're just relying on the state of Texas itself to try and crush your spirits.
Maybe.
We have a lot of theories, some of which we can't actually openly discuss, not even here, just for the protection of certain individuals, but like,
we will not ask you to repeat that on the Patreon. So
Yeah, they're unretiring Kevin killed the union workers Johnson during their union crisis.
No, they're unretiring Howard kill the union Schultz. Kevin Johnson just like abruptly left with a $60 million golden parachute.
Oh Jesus. Okay.
Meanwhile, across the country, every barista and shift supervisor's hours are getting slashed, almost on average in half. But
Jesus,
you know,
that is extraordinary.
Oh yeah.
What sorts of behaviors are you seeing out of the company that are really motivating people to unionize at Starbucks? Like hours getting slashed. Is there anything else going on that's like?
Honestly, I think Gaz should take this one since he's newer to the company than I am, so he has that like fresh perspective on what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know what influenced our store was, funnily enough, the updates we were getting about what was happening in Buffalo, that other stores were doing it, you know, and on their own, everyone kind of went, huh, you know, we have a lot of problems around here that maybe we could do something about if other people can. And
I think in a previous conversation that you and I have had on the phone, Gaz, you said something that I think really summarizes it well, which was yeah, which was that like the first message from Rosanne that we received, the first official communication from a Starbucks executive to all of the stores across the country, basically outlined the problems that the partners in Buffalo were saying that they were experiencing, which related a lot to short staffing, not actually having proper COVID restrictions in place, or them not being very well enforced. There were some discussions about various safety hazards that didn't include COVID, and a lot of it kind of centered around staffing problems and everybody being overworked and constantly short-staffed, and just the way that Starbucks was handling that. And when Rosanne outlined this in the letter, she basically blamed the partners for their poor experience, or I believe the official wording was more along the lines of that they were not receiving the Starbucks experience because partners were not willing to pick up each other's shifts. They were not being flexible with their availability and different things like that. And
partners is what they call you.
Oh yeah, we're all partners with the company.
Okay.
Every single person at Starbucks, from the executive level down to the retail level, is a partner with the company.
Right, because of my hypothetical stocks that I own in the company.
Yeah, the stocks that you're given every single
I hear they're
year.
coming.
Yeah, you're supposed to get them in November of this year, Gaz. You're definitely not a stock buyback sneaky scheme program that Starbucks has.
No, it's a benefit, right?
It's a benefit for partners, obviously.
Yeah.
I also sell stocks in my polycule. I thought everyone does this.
Yeah, you know, some of us have just have a larger holding in the polycule itself. We want to see it. You know, I bought the under, so I want to see the polycule fail so that I can, you know, get better returns on my stocks.
Now I have to send an email inviting Rosanne to come visit our store just so I can look her in the eye and make a comment about the Starbucks polycule, the national Starbucks polycule.
You're all partners. Like, that's you're one giant polycule. That was their scheme the whole way. Rosanne just wanted to be loved.
A 9,000 store polycule.
Yeah. Also, I'm worried that you might introduce Rosanne to the concept of being poly, and then they'll just fold that right into the rhetoric about how cool that is. Like,
well, I mean, honestly, they could stand to, considering that you can give your healthcare benefits to a partner, but if you have multiple partners, you can only pick one of them. So, you know, Rosanne maybe could stand to learn a thing or two about polyamory, but that's a different tangent.
That is for
Yeah.
after the union is formed.
After the union is formed. Basically what Gaz pointed out was that everybody in our store read that, where the partners are being blamed for not picking up each other's shifts and not, being willing to help each other, not do things to take care of each other. And we all in our store independently looked around and we're just like, okay, but we do all have open availability for the most part. We do pick up each other's shifts and pick up the slack and change our hours on the go to make sure that all of the shifts are covered. And we still have all the same issues and complaints that we're seeing these partners in Buffalo bring up. So obviously it's not them.
It's
And
funny
I think-
that she thought we'd agree with her,
Yes,
and instead it might have radicalized a dozen stores across the nation.
Truly. I've been saying this to the partners in my store and to other stores that have reached out and wanted to talk to us, where I'm just like, I hope I get to tell Roxanne thank you someday for writing that first message, because we wouldn't be here without her.
It's kind of like this combination of like very standard like UFCW comes in and goes, hey, do y'all like hate the fact that your AC only works 6 months out of the year and nobody's ever cleaned your water filters? Combined with like Roxanne being this like abusive relationship kind of thing where it's like, well, you never do the dishes and you don't, clean up all this stuff and you're always at work all the time and it's like, what?
We did do an episode where we read through, at the end of one of our episodes, we read through the Starbucks official Roxanne bio and just tore into her because, oh my God, she's just the worst person. Just by Starbucks' own admission, they're just like, oh no, she's just like the person who went around the world, like managing Starbucks in like the Middle East or some shit. And you're just like, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean you're jet setting around the world and just like dealing with Starbucks? Like, I don't know. It sounds to me like some sort of union busting scam around the globe, but what would I know?
I mean, I call that colonialism, but
I mean, Roxanne doesn't. Roxanne calls that an inclusive partnership.
I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will take all forms of currency from everyone around the globe. Don't you worry. We're coming to you next. So, after kind of getting the stereotypical fast food experience and then having this catalyst just handed to you, printed out and posted in every store almost, you struggled and you had big meetings where you called out everyone and like explained to them that the union would help and that you stood outside and picketed and chanted together in the store and all that stuff.
Who?
Yes, us, absolutely. That's what happened, right, Gaz? Because that's what everybody pictures when they picture a workplace unionizing. So that's exactly what we went through.
I think you're describing a Disney musical movie that I missed.
I might be thinking of the Peaky Blinders scene with the communist in the factory, like with all the guys gathered around and they're all like yelling and pumping their fists.
What's the one that Sally Field won the Oscar for? That's the one I think of, working in the I don't remember what they made. It was like that general, like, we're assembly line people and we don't get to take our lunch. And she puts the sign on the board and suddenly everybody's like, yeah, right, union rights.
All I'm
My
thinking
gosh,
of is
I wish that were me.
Aaron Brockovich, but that's not it.
Oh my God, which one was it? I can't think of it. It's not coming to me.
Well, the point is that perhaps is not, it doesn't happen like the movies. So what would you say has been the most influential force in solidarity at your Starbucks?
Literally just the fact that we all like each other. I would honestly go so far as to say that every single person who works in our store does genuinely care about everybody else who works in the store. But like at this point, I wouldn't even say it was about the genuine care. Like when we were first starting off, I think it was just straight up that everyone liked each other. Nobody liked to see anybody struggling. And it really just took, a couple of people going, well, we could do this too. We could do this. Like, why not? And that was enough to get everybody saying, we could do this. Why not? you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
Like it wasn't big, it wasn't dramatic. I mean, like the most dramatic thing was making sure that our manager didn't catch wind of it, and apparently I think we later found out that, or no, we didn't find out. We have a suspicion that she did at some point catch wind that there was talk of unionizing in the store.
Well, I think as much as it's great that Starbucks was transparent and wasn't just hoping that baristas weren't, checking out the headlines and seeing what was going on, but they opened, the can of worms for the floor to, feel open to having that conversation at all. So you were getting people giving commentary and their opinions about unions in general and what their thoughts are about unionization in, restaurants, fast food, service industry. And, so I imagine that any manager is going to wonder, is my store next?
Mhm.
Not to mention, we suspect that they're being directly asked from people above them to look out for certain things. So I think any manager is kind of suspicious.
Do your employees seem to like one another? You got to do something about that as the manager, because that's the number one factor that leads to unionization. Having any basic human respect for one another.
I'm crying.
I've literally heard stories about people just even being told, like, oh, you're not supposed to have group chats outside
Oh
of
my
work.
God.
And it's like, don't be friends.
Don't be friends with your workers, but
You get
also work together
ideas.
really well. But also don't like each other a lot. Like each other enough to be spiteful that someone else is performing better than you. Because being angry at your coworkers is what will keep you motivated to come back here every morning at 5 a.m., 4 a.m.
Just say, I worked at a Starbucks for like a year or two, and I can't think of a single metric you could even compare each other against. But that might just be because I didn't care to look deep enough.
When you say metric you can compare each other against, are you talking like stuff like pay and whatnot?
Well, I guess what I mean is like when I worked at like I worked at a Radio Shack for a while, and they had a like commission based system. They had sales. They had all these figures that like they do regular, try and foster competition among the employees. And when I worked at Starbucks, admittedly like a decade ago at this point, but we just didn't have that. There was just like total number of sales, increase them. I'm sure there's plenty they can divide each other, y'all among, but I was thinking in terms of outspoken trying to pit you against each other and undermine solidarity behaviors.
Oh yeah, no, because, and the reason that doesn't happen is because they're just constantly beating everybody down. We have this concept at Starbucks of coaching. Other places call it feedback. Some people might even go so far as to call it critiquing or criticism.
Oh no, a struggle session.
Oh no, a struggle session. But yeah, I mean, so the term that is used at Starbucks is coaching, which is, and anybody can coach anybody in theory, that can be store manager to a barista, barista to barista, barista to shift supervisor, so on and so forth. Everybody can receive coaching from anybody, but it really does, most every store that I've worked at, because I've worked at stores in California, I worked at about 7 different stores there, and then I've worked now at 3 different stores here in Texas. This store that I'm working at right now is probably the only store where people actually go out of their way to tell each other good job and to compliment each other and to give each other praise. Whereas at all my other stores, it's pretty much just constantly like, we're all striving to become better and nobody is ever the best. And so we all have to keep working on ourselves and on, I guess in gamer terms, and on our skills, because it's always a skill issue.
I've been playing Elden Ring. I was going to go with poise.
I'm crying. Yeah, so, they're not pitting us against each other because they're just
The whole
constantly
system.
oppressing us constantly.
I hate to be cliche about it, but goddamn, that's dystopian. Like, Jesus. It's it's just galling to work in environments that are, what can I say? It's galling to work in environments like that. When I worked at a Starbucks, we didn't have anything like that. I am very upset by hearing about that. I'm sorry, I'm speechless.
I've been straight up told that, if you have issues with a peer, you're still supposed to go straight to that peer, even if it's, personal conflict on the floor. Like they really do. It almost sounds like it's, they're trying to frame it as you should feel comfortable coaching each other, right?
Hmm.
Coaching, or, if you have a problem with someone, you should approach them. Did you let them know? And it's like, are you just setting us up to hate each other? Because I feel like it's a setup. I feel like it's, it's creating conflict.
Yeah, you should go confront them like right now. Like we're in the middle of a shift. You gotta fight it out, you know? I know that from our conversation, CJ, you've talked about how like y'all seemed to have an advantage in this stage, in this like having a cohesive team in the store stage. But do you think that there's like any secret sauce that made that work?
You know, it's funny because it was very obvious after I arrived at the store, and then Gaz did end up working at the store shortly after me. And just for a little context, Gaz and I have known each other for years at this point. We are both professional actors, and we have done shows together on stage, and so we had a bit of history. But when I started working at the store, there was, I wouldn't say there was a lot of conflict because I'd seen more conflict at stores before, but there was definitely some disjointedness, which our store manager attributed to the fact that she was still new to the position, that they were going through a change in leadership, which was causing some tensions within the store.
They always say that when things get worse when they hire a new manager.
Of course, of course. And, I do want to actually give some credit to our store manager. And this is one of the things that I think Gaz and I want to get into because our situation is a little unique when it comes to our store manager. But I do want to give some credit to our store manager because she immediately actively started working on ways that she could mend any issues that were being experienced either between her and the people who were already established at that store, or between the new team that she was bringing in as she was hiring people and the team that had been there for a lengthy period of time. And none of it particularly felt super like corporately ghoulish. Like she genuinely did just do what she could to cultivate an environment. But I do, I have to give myself some credit, which is a massive struggle for me, but I really did go out of my way when I got into that store to make friends with everybody and to create an atmosphere where people felt like they could chat with each other and joke with each other and all of these things, which was stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit. I usually am very quiet when I first get to a new group of people. Like anytime we would start working on a new show, for example, back when I did a lot of theater, was always very quiet the first few rehearsals just because I didn't really know anybody. And then like as time went on, I would speak up more. But this time around, I did things a little different. Like honestly, the secret sauce, if I'm to summarize it, is just that we made friends with the people that we worked with. Like that's it.
Yeah.
We joked, we laughed, we had inside jokes, we essentially were hanging out when we were working together. And that was really all that it took for people to have enough trust with each other that they felt like, okay, yeah, I guess we'll do this thing.
Yeah, and it's sometimes it's a little silly to reduce it for me like this, but like that's exactly what a union is. Like before we formalized all of it, it was just everyone liked each other, trusted each other over the boss, and just said, okay, we have solidarity. We're gonna just not fucking work if there is a problem. We go on strike and do something. And we formalized it to a point where people can get caught up in the like, but how do I convince people to like sign the petition? How do I get people to get through that process? But at the end of the day, like if you're just friends and someone says, hey, we could just do this, like there you go.
I mean, we actually wrote that in our letter. We straight up just wrote, we already act like a union, so we're just going to formalize it now in our letter to Kevin Johnson.
Right.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
That's the way to do it.
Gaz might have
Yeah.
some more insight since he came into the store kind of after I had already, started trying to make friends with everybody and kind of create a more like warm environment. So was I successful, Gaz, in doing that, would you say?
Oh, I mean, yeah. When I walked in, it was plenty warm. It was
yeah.
super easy to jump in there and chill with everyone was so comfortable. And I was shocked. Like, how often do you go into a new atmosphere and feel that, social comfort
Mm-hmm.
So, like, obviously, I mean, we have good people. I imagine, I think every Starbucks partner, you know, is good people. But like, I think we're lucky that our store already feels comfortable with each other, and it was an easy idea to sell.
Gaz, I want to ask you because I haven't heard from you. Do you feel like there was any like there was some like training that you've been to, or like because you were already in these other have already had these like union experiences that you were like maybe more comfortable with this idea?
Oh yeah.
And was there like something that you like kind of like tried to bring to your store to help people? Because I know I like you said in your letter, the biggest thing is you're already friends, you're already acting like a union. Formalizing it is more of a practice in paperwork, I guess. So like is that kind of like, was there something else that like you felt made you you felt helped you as you were kind of walking through this?
I mean, it's just that life experience that you pick up, and I can only control, what I can from my level, which is the lowest, on the Starbucks pyramid. And so it's hard because it's hard for me to walk into an atmosphere like, I haven't worked in customer service in a couple years. I'm here for the insurance, and with the pandemic, I wasn't going to be able to be on stage. And so it was hard to go back into an atmosphere where, if those systems aren't in place, there's not a lot you can do. Mostly it was just encouraging people to use the resources that Starbucks has set up,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that they're probably not going to work any better than they've ever had for them before. People are already discouraged to use some of those things because they don't, it's at the, like, at the end of the day, those things are in place to protect Starbucks.
What sorts of things are you referring to?
We have, like a partner connection. What does the PCC stand for?
Oh God. Shoot. Give me a
Like
sec.
partner connection center, but hotlines where you can call and discuss if you think that there's a problem at your workplace, or there's just issues that you need to take up higher than
Oh,
like an incident report in store.
yes. We also have our ethics hotline that we can call to file like official reports, which is like a third party organization outside of Starbucks that we can essentially keep record on like different targeted harassment or health and safety concerns or whatever with this third party, quote unquote.
I found the partner resources page on Starbucks, the partner contact center,
Mm-hmm.
my partner info,
Contact.
the Starbucks benefits center, Coffee Gear, your source for branded apparel, dress code, approved items, gifts, and more. Fidelity Net benefits for Beanstalk and SIP.
Yeah, that's our not stock buyback stock program.
LifeWorks, Employee Assistance Plan and Wellbeing app.
Oh God, I don't even know that I know what that is. That's probably the Headspace thing. I don't know.
That's Starbucks Canada. No, Headspace is for guided meditation.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh yes, a valuable benefit of our employment.
Yes, those guided meditations are really going to do a lot to ease my trauma from the pandemic, for sure.
yeah.
Being forced to work through each wave of the pandemic.
For when there's only 4 of you in the store, get in the right headspace.
There's only 4 of you in the store during peak.
Yeah. Don't worry about the lunch rush. When you're in the right headspace, you won't even it won't even Manulife future savings. So like a hotline to call because you need help pinching your pennies correctly.
Mm-hmm.
You need someone to tell you to order lentils for lunch instead of,
Well, so and here's the best part about all of these benefits that you're going through, of which of course there are more, like the ones that people know, like healthcare, and now we get therapy sessions, which I am utilizing, by the way.
Genuinely good.
Do we still get free Spotify?
We still get free Spotify, and everybody knows about the free Spotify.
I didn't know about that. Gosh.
So who needs therapy?
Yeah. So we have a lot of those bigger benefits as well. There's Lyft to Work. There's a ton of other stuff. But the catch, of course, to all these benefits is every 6 months you have to have worked a certain number of benefits eligible hours. And then they do a benefits audit every 6 months. And if you did not reach that minimum,
So the catch was that you have to have 6 months. Every 6 months, you have to have enough hours enough eligible hours to get access to the benefits.
Correct. And so, like, I started working there in May of last year, and I've still been unable to qualify for anything.
So clearly, you just, you aren't like, you aren't confronting your manager about these personal problems enough to sort it out to make sure that you get on the schedule enough for eligible hours that you would then be able to have, so you have enough to get it's all your fault.
According to Roxanne, if we would just work harder and more,
Work more harder, yeah.
I'm not quite, yeah. If you worked more harder, all these problems would just go away. It can't possibly be their fault.
And yet you're unionizing because there are so many people who have to work so much so unstably. You'd think everyone would hit the hours. It's like they've set the entire thing up to not work.
Well, and that's what a lot of people are, stuck with right now at stores that, unlike ours, hours were getting slashed a lot earlier, starting back a couple of months ago, I think even before the new year. And I'm hearing tons of stories about where it almost sounds like these partners are forced to exit the company in order to then get a second job to supplement their hours at Starbucks getting cut. Like they keep you on the schedule just enough, and you can't negotiate your schedule anymore to get another job in the meantime. And, again, it's your fault.
They keep wanting employees to be as flexible as possible under all circumstances. And
even if it means just, don't eat. Just don't eat this month.
Right. And this is my example, not at a Starbucks, but like the last job I had, I literally said, I only want 20 hours a week. That's like all I want. It's all I had to do. And I really wanted that. And every single week they were scheduling me for 25, 35, 45, like just whatever they wanted. And every week I had to force them to change it. And sometimes they just didn't show up to work because I'm like, I told you I hit my limit. Because like I had the flexibility to be able to say that, but it just whenever they say flexibility, they don't mean work less or work more. They just mean work different than you want to.
Yeah. That was kind of my experience in the first half when I started working there was, I wanted fewer hours. I wanted to be able to qualify for benefits, which didn't happen. But I knew I would burn out because I haven't been back in this industry in a while.
Yeah.
I hadn't been working at all for, at least a year. And, I knew that I was at risk of burning out real fast because when I jump into new things, I want to be good. And Starbucks training is basically non-existent right now for new people. And so it's a lot of personal pressure, that I don't want to be in the business of disappointing people when I hand them the incorrect stuff,
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of, it was exhausting, and everyone around me was exhausted, especially as we were heading into holidays. And, it was like, I would get asked like, so, why aren't you getting here on time? Like, you seem really tired. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah. No shit.
You think?
I'm pretty sure it was open about being very tired all the time. Yeah.
That's like I told you how much I wanted to work. Maybe that has something, being scheduled twice as much has something to do with it.
Maybe I told you how much I'm capable of doing, and you just keep scheduling me to close and then open.
And so then now with, our store, I think we're getting off pretty lucky. A lot of, the problems happening at other stores, we haven't had the displeasure of having to deal with.
Yeah.
But the stories I'm hearing are horrifying, and they're scaring people at my store. Everyone's just kind of wondering when that influence is going to come down south and how we prepare for it. And we don't know what to tell people, but just to get ready to vote.
This was kind of your critical point, and then now you've signed the cards, you've sent them away. You're going to be doing the rest of the unionization stuff. How well or not well supported do you feel from like the community? Like, what's the feedback been? Being the first Starbucks in Texas to unionize, being in that position where you are now kind of, I assume, hopefully, we probably shouldn't talk about it, to keep everything, to keep people safe, but like, maybe there are other partners that are reaching out to you to ask for things. How well how well supported do you feel by kind of the community at large? Is there a lot of like, you see a bunch of like hate comments on Facebook and Twitter and stuff, or?
No. I mean, the support was the thing we were the most optimistic about, and the thing that kind of kept us motivated when out, what is it going to be like once this goes public? And because it's Texas, we were prepared for, some interesting conversations maybe at the drive-through and stuff, but we have such a diverse customer base. So we weren't really worried. We knew that there would be more support than pushback,
Mm-hmm.
but prepared for some awkward conversations. And thankfully that optimism was pretty spot on.
Mm-hmm.
And when we went public on Twitter, it was pretty late at night. I think it was like a Monday night at 11 p.m.
Yeah, it was. Well, no, it wasn't 11. It was actually 8 p.m. So it wasn't quite that late, but it was still pretty late,
And the response online was immediate, and what we anticipated, because those are people looking out for these stories already. These are people already, hoping to see a new state join the movement. But in person at our store, we've had so many people who have like relocated to our store cafe to do their daily work, because they want to be around and support us and be there in case anything is weird. But they, CJ and I came in the next day just in time to catch somebody getting their coffee. And as they were leaving, they were like, "Happy unionizing." And that was the best feeling in the world.
It was so cute. It was wonderful.
Adorable.
CJ, what do you think about the support from the community?
Oh, okay. I see where this is going now. I understand. Okay. So, I mean, like Gaz said, the outpouring of support was, for me at least, it was completely overwhelming. Like Gaz said, we were prepared, especially because it's Texas. So, like, obviously all these people who have been following the Starbucks union movement and who are just chomping at the bit for the next state to join, like, for it to be Texas that, has thrown their hat into the ring, we knew that was going to be a massive deal. In fact, I would go so far as to say that for several of our people at our store, when it was time to sign cards, like, most of them would ask us as we presented them with the card, "So wait, if we do this, will we be the first in Texas?" And that was like massive for a lot of them. I would say it has become a huge part of many individuals at our store's identity, mine included. But so we got all of that. We got all of that support. My follower count on Twitter grew like 300%, and we were getting all kinds of press and media reaching out to us and everything. And,
oh boy!
And that's a whole thing that we can get into. But I think we all already are aware that the press is just fucking corrupt and
fucking vultures.
They're just vultures, yeah. In fact, it got to the point we were getting so many emails from press that were like, "We need a response ASAP, and we need to know by this date," and all of this stuff. And I just kind of went to our organizing committee at one point and just said, we don't need them. They need us. So they're going to do this on our time. And none of you need to worry about it. We will handle this when we want to handle it, or we won't, because we're not at their mercy. They're at our mercy, essentially.
Hell yeah.
And they were. And they still are, honestly. We still are getting requests for press from a lot of the same people who've been reaching out to us since we went public. Like, that's not a joke.
We love to hear a story of you wrapping the press around your finger.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, after they hear this segment on your podcast, they'll stop reaching out to us just to try and save their own dignity, right?
All of the press listens.
All
to
of
our
the
podcast.
press that listens to your podcast.
Hey, if you want to send our episode to the mainstream media, we're not going to complain.
I might wait till after we have won our union election vote, but I do intend to spread this around. However, we have to play it safe to some extent.
I'll edit it real good for you then.
It's ridiculous that they we're going to treat these unionizing workers the same way that their bosses treated them.
Right.
We need something from them. But,
right.
We're going to have them do it for free also.
I think the biggest thing of support that we got, though, was our local DSA chapter. They tried to reach out to us in various different ways, and we really were just overwhelmed at that point. So it wasn't until a day or two later that I was finally able to connect with them. And it was about 2 or 3 people who were a member of the DSA here. And they wanted me to get in this Signal group chat that they had put together. And I was just kind of like, okay, give me a second, truly, like, we're blown away by the support. It's very overwhelming. I just need y'all to send me an email at this email address because we're trying to get everybody to contact us at the same point because I can't keep track of Twitter DMs to 5 different individuals and a Signal group chat and, whatever other avenues people try and reach out to us. Like, please just email me. So they emailed me, and then I finally got in a Zoom call with them, and Gaz was able to join this Zoom call as well, where they basically told us that whatever we needed at any time, they would be able to make it happen. There was actually a city council member who was present in this Zoom call who just looked at us and said, if Starbucks starts trying anything with you and you need, people in who essentially have some positions of power or at least some say to start throwing their weight around, we will do that. I have friends who are also on city council, and I will pull them together and we'll make that happen.
That fucking rocks. That's great.
It was crazy. I mean, and the culmination of all of this was basically them saying that they had ties to unionized workplaces all around San Antonio, as well as non-unionized workplaces that we're still trying to organize, which culminated in thousands of workers. And they basically said, we can mobilize thousands of workers for anything you need at any time. You just need to let us know. We could probably have stuff together within like 15 minutes. I got off that Zoom call and I went and laid in bed and stared at the ceiling for like an hour. I had to talk to my therapist about it. The next time I saw her, I was like, how do you cope with someone basically telling you that the whole city is at your beck and call whenever you need them? How do you handle that?
That's so good. I hope we all have to talk to a therapist about that one day.
I was like, what is happening right now? Her response was so great. She was like, well, I mean, you basically, were a massive part in organizing your workplace, right? So this is just what you did there, but on a larger scale, on a citywide scale, right? And I was like, oh, okay, you're right. That's good. I can work with that.
and you have a union competent therapist too. That's great.
Oh yeah, no, my therapist is fantastic. My Starbucks provided therapist has been intensely helpful and supportive throughout this entire process. I kid you not. So that's all the good stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now we get to the stuff that Zach here has been wanting us to get to for an hour.
Oh, we have a whole patron episode that we're going to go into this too. So you're getting your taste here.
Yes.
We also have been receiving a lot of, I believe, very well-intentioned requests to do things like make appearances on labor panels. I believe at this point we've received 6 different requests to participate and be speakers on 6 different labor panels. At least 4 of them are from professors at a local college. So we've gotten that, and then of course more recently the sort of culmination of all of this that resulted in me very angrily and frustratedly messaging Zach. Oh God.
I'm just a gamer tag to you.
You're just a gamer tag to me. I don't know you. And Gaz. I messaged both of them, very frustrated. Again, what I believe was a very well-intentioned visit from Democratic Congressional House Representative nominee Greg Kassar to our store. So, I guess to kind of unpack all of this, the summary of these particular experiences is that it's very clear that being the first Starbucks store in Texas to petition to unionize, we now possess a certain level of what the internet calls clout, but for the sake of timelessness, I'm going to refer to it as social capital. And it is obvious that there are certain actors who want a piece of that, who want to use what we are doing as a way to prop themselves and their work and their efforts up. That's the summary of it. So I guess if we want to go into a little more detail on that, y'all can kind of start steering us in a direction.
So we're talking about the visit from for my own benefit, editing it out. Is the Greg Kassar thing the place to start with this, or your?
I think it's because it's the one thing that we agreed to, whereas all of these labor panel offerings have been rejected. And we get some very interesting responses when we reject them. It's the one that actually happens to us, so I think
Okay.
I think it's probably a safe tip to go there. Yeah.
Okay, so in that case, in the tradition of this show, which we are doing an hour in instead of like 10 minutes in, like usual, we have you've brought us a tweet from Greg Kassar to kick off the one. Can I say opportunist event? Is that
No, I
mean?
wouldn't outright
not?
call it an opportunist event,
Okay,
even
okay.
though you could absolutely make a case that there was some opportunist intentions behind it. I do really think that the vast majority of people who showed up genuinely believe in the labor movement, genuinely believe in
Okay.
worker power, and genuinely want to see better things for myself and my coworkers. But this is obviously a political campaign, and so
Yeah.
there will always be some opportunistic intentions underneath everything that's been done,
Mhm.
Sure. Yeah.
We live in a society. It's hard for
We live in a
you
society.
to both. It's hard for Greg to both like run for this position and to show up and show support for your store and for you as workers without it also being an opportunity for Greg to take a bunch of pictures and show off how much Greg supports your store and you as workers.
I mean, I don't want to derail it too far. All I'll say is I think if like someone was in any of those, Zoom meetings where they're like, we'll just get the city on your side, and you're just like a candidate who's in that meeting being like, yes, I will also spread you to everyone who's on my mailing list and shit to mass them. Like that seems good enough. That's just me. That all said, ignoring all of that, we have Greg Kassar. We have a tweet here. There are images of Greg speaking in front of your Starbucks. And Greg says, today we're on a Texas Solidarity tour of the Starbucks stores organizing with at SB Workers United. San Antonio's 410 Vance Jackson store was the first in Texas to start unionizing. Join us in supporting these Starbucks partners by ordering drinks under #UnionStrong. So how did this come to be?
Yeah. So I received an email from a prominent organizer with Buffalo. I have the email in front of me right now, and the subject line of the email is Texas politician wants to visit San Antonio and Austin stores. The email basically just says that the comms director for Workers United and the communications staff for this politician want to connect with the organizing committee at my store and kind of coordinate this visit. And I won't go through and like reread every single email to you, but the impression that I was under from these emails that we were receiving, I went ahead and took this on, given my particular role within our organizing committee. We've delegated a lot of like how emails get replied to and stuff like that within the committee. So, but I took this on, and the impression that I was under was that it was going to be a visit, just a casual visit. Like like this politician who's on the campaign trail is going to come into the store, probably order a coffee under Union Strong, and then just hang out for a bit, maybe chat with some of the workers, chat with people in the cafe, just kind of do that politician thing where they make themselves available to the general public to continue to paint that picture of being a public servant, right?
Yeah.
And previously, our store, long before any sort of talk of organizing was actually happening, we received a visit from the mayor of San Antonio, and it was very casually that. Came in, got a coffee, chatted with a couple people, and then left to go do mayoral things like increase the San Antonio police budget. Anyway,
Oh no.
so yeah, I responded to this email the same way that I respond to any group that has ever reached out to us, be it like someone coming into the store and asking, or via email or on Twitter or whatever, saying they want to come and they want to just hang out and bring their friends or bring their organization with them and just support us. And that response is, we would love to hang out with you all. We would love for you to visit. Starbucks does have rules in place that are known as the third place rules that, you guys will need to follow. You just can't be disruptive or anything like that. But as long as, you're not planning anything that would disrupt our third place, we would love to have you hang out with us. It's a very generic response, yes, and part of that is an attempt to kind of protect ourselves, given what happened in Memphis with the partners getting fired for talking to the press and everything. So that was what I said. Then, about 3 days before this visit is supposed to happen, I get 3 emails. I woke up to 3 emails from the comms director of Workers United, basically asking for a call. And then there was another email in the mix. Where did you go? I was just looking at you. There you are. And this email was a breakdown of the event, and it basically, tells us that Greg was planning on being at our store at 9 a.m. We already had a date and everything. This was going to be March 24th, and then kind of a breakdown of what times they were planning on being at the other stores. But after all of that, there is a sentence that basically says, Greg will do a short presser outside your store, CJ, and then go in with his entourage and press to order coffee under Union Strong, and if possible, speak with partners. And then it also said that he would present a letter to Howard Schultz, to our store manager, demanding that Howard Schultz sign the fair organizing the thing that Buffalo's put together.
Oh my God, you need to talk to the people in the store.
So I immediately got on the phone with the comms director for Workers United, and I basically literally went, "Hi, what? This is not what we agreed to." So I immediately was like, "Press cannot come into the store. Do you not remember what happened in Memphis? What are you doing? This is actively harmful to us and to what we're doing in our store," which, as a recap, we showed up to work after we filed our petition, and we made sure that everybody was on the same page, and we all showed up like it was any other day. We have continued to show up to work to do our jobs like normal. We're not putting on any shows. We're not picketing. We're not hanging flyers all over the store. We're not doing anything because it's not necessary in our space. And we're not giving Starbucks any reason to escalate things with us. We're very intentionally doing that. And we all agreed that unless Starbucks started taking union busting action that was escalating things in our store, we would not be the first. And now I have this politician who's literally going to bring an entourage of press into our store.
Oh my God.
With him. And when I told this person that the press was not allowed in the store, that was not an option, that it would be against the rules, basically what was said to me was, well, could we just, pretend like we don't know until someone tells them to stop filming and stuff?
No. It doesn't work.
And I said, no, I'm already on thin ice as a result of this event even being what it is. You realize I now have to go tell my store manager that there's going to be a massive crowd of people in front of our store and a politician giving a speech. So you've already put me in a difficult spot, and now you want to put me in an even more difficult spot by pretending like you don't know what the rules are. Do you not realize what you're doing to me in my store?
For context, in Memphis, 7 workers were fired in response to, quote, multiple violations of company safety and security policies.
Yes, they were fired for very stupid things that happen at every single store across the country on a daily basis. And these 7 individuals have more or less confirmed on their social media that the real reason Starbucks wanted them out is because they spoke to the press about their organizing efforts outside of and in their store. And Starbucks was not okay with that. But Starbucks will not cite that as the reason that they were fired. So, yeah. At this point, I believe I called Gaz while I was driving to the store to get my morning coffee.
And I said, "What?" So that's very different than it was just very different than what we had discussed. And hearing you repeat how those phone conversations went on your end, trying to, basically do damage control on something we did not start or invite, it sounds like a lot of, well, thanks for being concerned for us, but we're willing to take the consequences. And it's like, we're not. There's, hello, the people running the movement that you're so excited about, that's not what we asked for.
Yeah.
And it was just, that was a hectic, I mean, things turned around in the span of maybe 3 hours.
Yeah.
But this was kind of the
Good.
top of the roller coaster.
Well, I would actually argue it goes even higher than this because of what happened next. We're not quite at the top yet. Yeah, so Gaz and I talked through the whole situation, vented a lot of our frustrations with what was going on, and basically kind of resolved that when I got to the store, I needed to go to our store manager and be like, "Hi, this is happening, and we did not sanction this.
I just work here, bro.
Literally, I just work here. Here's what I was asked. Here's what was said. And here was what we, as your organizing partners, thought was going to happen." And then basically just tell her, like, I'm not done having these conversations with these individuals, and I intend to continue to fight them until they agree to comply with our third place rules. But, at this point, things are potentially out of my control. And I want to come to you now and say whatever happens on Thursday, like if it becomes an issue, one, I fully accept and expect you to take the actions that you're supposed to take as a store manager, as far as kicking these people out or escalating things if things continue to go that way. And two, make sure that this is not us. We did not ask for this. So I get to the store, and one of the shift supervisors who is working towards becoming a store manager, and we're all very proud of her and very excited for her. She's been with the company for years and years and years, and she really does deserve more. She was leaving, and I asked her if our store manager was there. She told me no, our store manager was on vacation. And I said, okay, did she designate one of us as the supervisors to be in charge while she's gone? And she said, no. And I was like, well, so I guess that's you then, huh? And she was like, probably. So I just said, I just gave her the same spiel that I just gave all of you. And I think I ended with, I don't remember exactly what my
it's not what we asked
final
for,
words were.
And
yeah, it was basically just
I'm
like,
doing my
this is not what
best.
we asked for, this is not what we wanted, and we're going to do our best. And the response that I got was, well, that's what you get. And I was like, what? But I didn't think too much of it because I was still dealing with all of this. Then, shortly after that, after she had left, we all, as supervisors, received a message. Oh God, this is probably bordering on something that could get me fired. Whatever.
I mean, I would just say the link was that somebody shared the link.
Yeah, we all as supervisors received a message from this individual, which was a screenshot of a Reddit post, and the message basically stating that the union team should be the ones to work that time since we invited all of this to the store. So, obviously was not getting any sympathy from my coworker about our situation and everything. And if
what was the Reddit post she attached?
Yeah, so this is a Reddit.
We'll get to that because I have one more thing to add to this, which was because of her message, I was able to actually get in touch with both the comms director from Starbucks Workers United and Greg's communications team, and essentially be like, look, one of my coworkers is already blaming our union organizing for your actions. So you're hurting us. It's already happened. What are you going to do about it? And was able to kind of take control of the situation.
That's wonderful.
But the Reddit post. This Reddit post
is the top of the roller coaster?
This Reddit post is the top of the roller coaster. This Reddit post, it does not exist anymore. It has been taken down. It was taken down the morning of the event, a few hours before the event was supposed to happen. I did receive messages from the individual who posted it, but honestly, given the time frame of everything that happened, I didn't get to respond, and I think I haven't responded still. Whoops. Which is fine. This post basically was asking... It looked like it was tied to Greg's visit, and it essentially was asking for the rest of the community to show up at the store at this time, at 9 a.m. on Thursday, the 24th, and it included calls to action such as bring signs and stuff, and be ready to stand outside the store in solidarity with the workers.
No, you don't picket a store that's unionizing. You picket with them on strike.
You would think that, wouldn't you?
I would think that.
It's such a, like, there's a fervor out there, and, you know, undirected as of right now, a fervor out there, like, that has no outlet, and, like, the first outlet that people find, the first relief valve that pops up, it's like, all of a sudden, there's just this, like, outpouring of cringe.
Honestly. That's the top of the roller coaster. So now, this is prior to my call with the comms director and the communications team for Greg. Now we have, a coworker who is othering the organizers at my store, who has sent a screenshot of a Reddit post inciting picketing in front of our store to a group chat full of the shift supervisors at my store and our store manager, who, need I remind you, this person just told me was on vacation.
Yeah.
And we have a politician coming to visit us, bringing a posse of press with him, who, they have given me every indication they are going to just bring in the store, regardless of whether I tell them they can or they can't. That is the top of the roller coaster.
Eesh.
Woo.
This is a clusterfuck. You have, like, anywhere between, like, what sounds like 10 and 1,000 people who are just going to harangue your store and put your job at risk.
On any given day, there are between 10 and 1,000 people you have to fight off personally.
Which is what it's like to work at Starbucks, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, you're describing every single day at Starbucks. Yeah, it sure is something. And, we have January 27th at 8 p.m. was when we went public with our intention to organize, and then 3 days later was when our petition was filed with the NLRB. So from January 27th to March 21st, we had no union busting action or any sort of retaliatory action occurring at our store, apart from being told that we weren't allowed to wear more than one Starbucks Workers United pin. That was it. That was literally the worst thing that we had gone through. And when
honestly,
when our lawyer told us, like, hey, this is probably a ULP violation, like, we could file a charge over this, my response was, it's not worth it. I don't want to file a ULP charge until we actually have something serious to file it over. Like, this needs to be a card that we wait to play. That was so that was it.
Yeah.
Everything was more or less smooth sailing as far as organizing went. We obviously were still having a lot of issues within the workplace. And for whatever reason, right after we filed our petition, every single person at my store started going through an intense personal life crisis.
Oh, God.
Like, it's not even an exaggeration. Every single person that I spoke to in the week that followed was dealing with a breakup, was dealing with abuse, was dealing with,
COVID.
moving, was dealing with COVID, was like everything. Every single person had a massive personal life crisis. Was fighting with their parents. Like, you name it, it was happening to somebody in my store.
Jeez.
One person actually had like 2 deaths in the family, like back to back. Like, this is all after we filed. So,
oh my God.
So, we had all of that stuff going on, but nothing else. And now this, what I just described to you.
Yeah.
So I made a Twitter thread after this, and it was emotionally charged, which I usually do my darndest these days to stay away from social media when I'm experiencing a lot of emotion. But, what was about to happen in our store was so immediate and was approaching, and I I have a lot of followers who live in Texas who come into our store and support us regularly, that it felt very worthwhile to make some kind of statement saying, this Reddit post, if you've seen it, is not us, and I swear to God, you better not show up in front of my store holding signs. And I did, of course, make a more general statement of like, you cannot go above workers' heads when they are organizing and take action that they have not explicitly asked you to take. Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah, for God's sake, talk to them. Like, it's very easy to get in contact with you, it sounds like.
I still have some investigating
Well,
to
we've
do.
been very clear. We've given, plenty of, other ways to support us, and we've answered questions on Twitter, and we've said at most, hey, if you don't want to spend the money, you can come in and get a water and put it under union. Yes.
Just to show people that you
But
support
nobody
us.
asked you to turn people away from the store. We've specifically said that we need our store to be successful in order to fight any sort of union busting that might be coming down the line.
And even
blaming the movement.
And that's not to say that there haven't been people who have openly expressed they were ready to like picket and strike with us. Like when the DSA had that first conversation with us, like part of the whole thing was, a lot of these organizations are already in the mindset that we're dealing with the worst of it, that we're in the thick of it. People are getting fired. It's, chaos in the streets and everything. And we're ready to stand with you. And, myself, Gaz, and other organizing committee members are just sitting there like,
cool.
Nothing's happening, friend.
We'll let you know, but
we'll let you know. Like,
Yeah.
that's all there is to it. Like, as we've been alluding to, as Zach has especially been alluding to this whole podcast, they are living under the romanticized version of unionizing, and we're over here like we're just doing paperwork.
Yeah. It's cool to have that like support. I imagine like that probably makes you feel pretty good, but at the end of the day, like you said, everyone is like, people are dying. Pets have to go to the vet. You have to wake up and you have to make your protein shakes and then go work out for 3 hours before going to work every day. Like that's just life is continuing onwards. Like unionizing is not the important part, right? The important part was already done. You already talked to everyone, and you have a workplace that you've already worked together to make better. And
yeah.
And like you didn't have a shitty power tripping manager, it sounds like.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not even the reason to unionize, first of all. So,
oh, you would know something about that, would you, Zach?
About power tripping managers? What's that? God, well, I think we've got quite enough for this episode. If you want to hear more of the juicy details that we're going to go into, be sure and subscribe to our Patreon. Just like these comrades have, we would like to shout out all of our patrons. That's Nicole, Pizza Poss, Comrade Kometka, Alan, Cody, Kira, Jen, Knightley, Andrew, the conduit of the existential dread of fatherhood itself, Julian, Julia, Dylan, Samantha, Caleb, Jack, Brubes, Lizzie, the brilliant Dr. Fly, Alex, Olive Lotion Wizard, Jorge, Dr. Sophia, Tyler, Malwin, Eli, Rufus, Nautimal Rat, Ryan, Tim the Undead Comrade, Scott, and the Warlock Phosphorus.
And we just have a new Patreon subscriber, Drew. Thank you.
And Drew, thank you so much for joining this lovely crew. Y'all keep the show plugging along. Y'all help us afford things like buying Reaper instead of just using the free version.
I did buy it. You bought me the auto editing software. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let us know how you liked our latest Patreon exclusive episode, the one that we just posted. And let us know how much you liked our up-and-coming Union Patreon episode. Remember, if you want to become a patron, you can for as low as $1 a month and get access to a bonus episode of the show every week, as well as have exclusive access to our other projects like Dolphins and Garages, as well as a lot of Dennis's other cult podcast content. If you can't donate, we understand, but you can really help us out if you like, and rate our podcast on your podcast listening app. Wherever you are, we are there as well. Don't forget to share our show with a friend or a loved one, and to tweet at us at least once a week, or at least messaging us the most heinous tweet that you found to be featured on our Tweet of the Week segment.
Yeah. If there's something you hate, let us know.
If you hate it, we'll hate it twice as much. Trust me. I already hate it. CJ, Gaz, thank you so much for cutting time out of your overwhelming, you're crushing Starbucks
Yeah.
schedule where you have to go in every day and beat off the Karens with a stick.
That's Zach.
Oh my
Beat
God.
off maybe. All right, you have to stop the Karens in their tracks.
I'm sorry, I'm still recovering. Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for letting me ramble and rant about all of this.
Yeah, no, this is absolutely fascinating, and we're happy to get all the juicy details in a moment on the Patreon that we have to hide behind the paywall so that you are safe. And 2 questions. Where can people find you, and do you want people to find you there?
I don't exist. I'm a figment of your imagination. Do not perceive me.
Good approach.
The pronouns that I gave at the top of the podcast, those were fake. I have no pronouns. Do not refer to me. No, if you do want, I do not use Twitter that often, and most of it is video game related stuff. But every once in a while, I will post small updates about what's going on in our store. So if you want more, if you kind of want to keep up with what's happening at my Starbucks store, you can follow me at meandering CJ on Twitter.
All right. And Gaz, anywhere you want people to find you.
I'm Gaz Jutinx everywhere. GazJewTinx. You can follow me on Twitter if this is the stuff you're interested in. If you're an actor, Instagram. If you're a cringy cosplayer, TikTok.
Ah, yes.
I needed a COVID hobby.
Okay, all right. A COVID hobby. Yes, sure. I was trying to figure out what the T-Nex was for. I got it now.
Like Jewish and Latinx.
Yeah.
My 2 personalities.
Gaz's COVID hobby was amassing a following of 30,000 people on TikTok, and my COVID following was making a gamer Discord server that I now have to be a father over, and is like another job. So I think Gaz is winning as far as COVID hobbies go.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're changing lives, though.
Oh my God! I need to leave. I've got to go. I have a thing.
It has to do with the gamer Discord. I guarantee.
I can't be here
because
anymore.
You know what? CJ's
No.
on. We got the multiple schedule thing going.
I did not agree to this harassment and bullying when I told you that I would come on your podcast in lieu of speaking to any press. So
anyways, this is where I'm in charge, unlike the gamer Discord. So you can check out Psychic Dolphin Garage everywhere. We should be at Psychic Dolphin Garage or just at Dolphin Garage. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I don't think.
Oh, don't follow us those places. We're only on Twitter. I don't.
Oh well, we were running them before, but then me and Kelton fell off the bandwagon, and now we only have a Twitter. So
since you've been gone, we've been working on editing episodes and coming up with a format for them, and just sort of being fancy. And I post.
Okay.
Just it's all the links are in the description.
They always are. They always were. And we always will be. We will see y'all in the future. Goodbye for now.
We always are, we always were, and we always will be. God, is that you?
Bye, everyone.